Hello guys, this is Ren from Upbit, and I'm the moderator for this interesting session. Yeah, I believe there are lots of things going on right now, like not only mentioning about like political things or like developer things or like something other, but I'm specifically talking about price. So I guess like you guys are enjoying it, and I'm seeing some smiles. So yeah, it's amazing. But paradoxically, I think like it's about time for us to like think about the persistency. So I guess like there are lots of DApps outside, but it has to be properly backed by mainness that is on the behind. So like without it, like DApps would be just a thing that nobody would use, and like nobody would use DApps if it takes like several like seconds or minutes to be conformed, or the mainnet behind is gonna be stalled for a while. So I guess it's really important. So like this is the reason for this specific session. So we'll have to see whether this growth is like persistent or not. So to check it, we'll have to like demystify the concept of the layer 2, and it will be really pragmatic in that you'll have some like long-term belief of whether this price appreciation will persist everlasting. So yeah, so without further ado, let me introduce Terence, the co-founder from Taiko, and YZ, the product lead of Mantle. So please give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
Yeah, so could you guys give a short, brief introduction of yourselves and the project to the audiences?
Should I go first?
Of course.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Happy to be here. Thanks a lot for having me in Upbit conference. I'm Terence Lam. I'm co-founder and COO for Taiko. And then Taiko is an Ethereum layer 2 scaling solution. We are the only type 1 zk-rollup, which means we care most about developer experiences. If the DApps works on Ethereum, it can be deployed on Taiko without any code change, just a simple RPC reconfiguration. You can enjoy our thicker pipe, faster transaction, much lower cost. And we are also the only base rollup. We can go into deeper about that. This is also a technology choice that we had made that actually address the incentive alignment with the whole Ethereum ecosystem. So that's Taiko. And oh, by the way, we just made that launch back in late May, and we TGE in early June, and we are actually listed on Upbit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm YZ from Mental. So I lead product, especially within the ecosystem dApps. So I think this conversation would be pretty interesting to have one lens on Taiko's side, looking more at the technology front, really at the rollup level, looking at base rollups, for example, and then maybe from Mental's perspective is providing a bit of more consumer use cases, DeFi use cases. So what Mental is Mental is also an L2 on Ethereum, so primarily an optimistic rollup. And we focus a lot on the, again, like I said, DeFi use cases. So there's about like more than 50% of our use cases today. We drive a lot of deep liquidity with the ecosystem dApps and assets. For example, liquid staking is one of the key things that we do. And also having those treasury support, which we are, I think, one of the biggest community-owned treasury in Ethereum, helps us provide those support, and then also those asset flows within the ecosystem. So I think that's going to be a very interesting conversation today, with you guys. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the introduction. So if I may ask, so I know there are like lots of people like different in their like knowledge bases. So L2 is kind of a tech that like scales up the like network like bandwidth. So in other words, like L2s can boost the network to handle more transactions per second. So without like trusting anybody else but the mainnet itself. So yeah, that's the very like specific definition of the L2. So let's just move on. So I first like to start with the question of the current status of the DApps and the status itself of a mainnet. So like I want to like know like the current like stats and also like what interesting apps there it is on top of the mainnet. So like could you give some kind of like explanation on that?
Sure. Terrence?
Okay, sure. So we have, as I just mentioned just now, we only mainnet launched in early June, so it's about 5 months now, less than 6 months. But then because we are the only type 1, we're the type 1 EVM, so the developer experiences actually allow us to have more than 130 DApps deployed already. We are almost onboarding, one new DApp every day, on average. And also we chose to be base rollup, which is a technology architecture, which means that actually we are the only decentralized layer 2. We have so our community proposers and provers, just like Ethereum, are actually proposing and securing the block. We make that choice because that ensures no single point of failure. It's not like just us, Taiko, running one node and then, it can be targeted, it can crash when transaction goes, peak. So you asked a good question about where we are at. Other than 130 apps, in networking effect that, we go to business school, we always say you need networking effect. So in addition to the 130 plus apps, we also have the single largest Discord community in the whole crypto space. We have more than 1 million members, and we start to see a lot of participation. Right now, we are processing 3 to 5 million transactions on mainnet every day. We just passed 300 million transactions on mainnet this week. We're super excited. Each transaction costs 1 or 2 cents, or even less than 1 cent. Recently, this week, after Trump got elected, the gas fee becomes a little bit higher. But per transaction cost is still less than 2 cents. We call it the broadband moment of blockchain that actually has happened on our chain. Because you think of it, right? You can one of the big use cases that we have is actually gaming. 30% of our daily transactions is from Web3 games. You can play fully on-chain Web3 games all day long, and you don't think about the cost. And at the end of the day, you only spend the cost of 1 Starbucks. So that's like, if you do it for 30 days, that costs you about the same as the broadband fee that you pay at home, right? So I think this is very important. If you look back at the Web 2, the broadband moment actually totally changed, the whole user experiences. So we are very excited about, the users. And if I go very technical, our peak TPS on the network is like 100 TPS, which is like already 10 times higher than, Ethereum. And that's only the beginning because, as I said, as more proposers, community proposers and provers join our network, our bandwidth is literally unlimited. So that's where we are at. Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive. So like 3 to 5 million like transactions a day is really impressive, and I guess like it could like be a little controversial on you saying the only like decentralized L2. So maybe we can revisit it with the opinion of YZ.
Yeah.
So yeah, later on. But I guess like you told about game, and like if I see the DApps from the past and the DApps nowadays, like we can see like Augur, for example, and Polymarket. So like one hasn't been like very successive, but one is really successful right now, like handling so many like transactions and millions and billions of like USD amount of like fiat. So I guess like it's kind of a difference. So the time has passed, and then there's some like advance in technology, and especially L2s. So if we like again talk about like gaming, so it needs like a good amount of like time to finality to achieve like good user experience. So could you just give some kind of like example of how like users can enjoy the great like UX of your network right now?
Sure. So among the 130 apps, actually, we just did a statistics. We did an analysis, about, if you count the number of the apps, actually, about 30% are DeFi, 15% are games, 10% are social-fi, and then some other like NFTs and other apps. Prediction market is a new coming thing. We're seeing AI apps being experimented on our network, finality is definitely something that's very important. But even the choice of being a base rollup, meaning that our confirmation time is 1 block time of Ethereum, which is 12 seconds right now. Having said that, 15% of number of games on Taiko network, actually contributed 30% of transactions daily out of the 3 to 5 million. So you think of it as 1 million to 1.5 million transactions going on Web3 games every day. We see that is good enough for today because we already see the explosion of usage. We have a lot of if I deep dive into the type of games, like we have casual games, we have strategy games, and then some major AAA games is also coming up. We are not a gaming chain, but the fact that a pipe is so wide, our transaction cost is so low, and the finality time as of now is sufficient, actually already opens up the user experiences to new use cases, and that actually will also be further improved to sub 1 second. When our next roadmap upgrade comes up, which is called pre-confirmation, but I will save that for later conversation. So another interesting fact is actually we have made 85 protocol upgrades since our mainnet. So we actually are still at the early days of the mainnet, and we constantly finding ways to improve and optimize and further enhance the technology. When pre-confirmation arrives, when sub-seconds confirmation is realistic, then the possibility is really unlimited.
Yeah, that's all amazing. So Taiko, as far as I know, is really remarkable in that they're meticulously approaching to the mainnet from the testnet. They always test all those features in the testnet, and then they apply it to the mainnet. So I guess this is amazing. And Mantle, for example, has been operating much more longer than Taiko as a mainnet. So I just want to give you the following question of the future of applications. So what do you think would be the most great application that will come in the near future or in the future? And could you just also give some examples of how you're gonna cover it up with your tech stack and things?
Yeah, sure. So Mantle has been around for a bit longer in terms of mainnet compared to Taiko. So we've been around since I think more than a year now. Mainnet launched, I believe, was in May the previous year. So the concept of Mantle, as we started before actually even researching or planning out the network, was thinking actually even before OP became really something that was prevalent within the space, as also with Eigen as a data availability layer, right? So we actually partnered with Eigen before Eigen DA even came out. Really? We sort of worked with them, used their code, had the Eigen DA side of things, and then because Eigen DA was not out, so we had it Mantle DA, which is our data availability layer. And I guess the design difference is base rollup, which came out a bit later, uses L1 as a sequencing, right? So obviously block time 12 seconds is kind of what you need to follow Ethereum. On our side, our sequencer kind of makes it super fast and a lot cheaper. So maybe to the point of the only decentralized rollup for L2, yeah, I mean, that's debatable. Of course, I mean, with sequencing, there's a lot, a broad discourse around that, right? But on Mantle, I think the purpose is we think about it from a use case perspective first. So like I said earlier, we have a lot of assets use case, right? Eubank assets, for example. One key product, core product that we have is METH protocol. So METH. So it's actually a liquid staking protocol first. We started with the liquid staking token called METH. It's quite memeable. People always talk about it like drugs. But then moving into that being one of the key assets, right? It's out of the entire ETH staking field, we are the fourth, I think the top four in terms of the TVL and also in terms of the use cases that we deploy. So why I say that is because a lot of our design of the network is because of use cases like that, right? Primarily with the treasury that we have, with the liquidity support that we can give to protocols, the focus is a lot on making sure that then the end user, the retail users, right, are able to actually transact, get value from the DeFi activities that they want to do. So then how do you do that? Obviously, one thing is with the sequencer, the finality is almost instant on Mantle, and transaction fees is also extremely cheap, right? We have kind of a lot of very key protocols that are partnered or on Mantle. For example, Ethena, Pando, and also we have a fork of Trader Joe, which is Merchant Mo on Mantle, and many others, right? Uniswap as well. So I think the whole idea here is the community or the collection of these key protocols that we have on this platform, that then being able to deploy these assets in anywhere you want to deploy. As a user, having an asset, firstly, yield bearing, of course, is most important, right? You want to be able to earn from your asset. But then what more can you do? Of course, you have the extreme ends of extreme DeFi degens who want to do 1,001 things, right? Take the YT and then like trade it, like put it as collateral and all that kind of stuff. You need distribution. And the future for us in that is really to expand those kind of use cases. So firstly is interoperability, right? Beyond at the protocol level of thinking about L2 interoperability, it's also thinking about at the ecosystem or depth level. For example, layer 0 being one of the huge component to this conversation, right? It's also being able to see, okay, today we have a few key and very highly liquid assets. How do we allow that to move to, let's say, tomorrow on Ton, right? To on even Taiko and anywhere else, right? So that is kind of the question. Because again, use case first. I think there are a lot, and we have seen a lot of greater success with protocols that started with applications. Hyperliquid is one. I mean, Uniswap now is moving to Unichain. They're kind of the middle. They did the protocol also, but from a blockchain perspective, they started with the end user needs. And I think that's also the perspective that we drive. The only thing I think it's really about moving with optimism design is then the L2 to L1 kind of like a challenge period, which we can talk about. But I think that is kind of like the one of the key things. Looking forward is, again, expanding this kind of like asset ecosystem that we have.
That's amazing. So, like, cook and mess, this is amazing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess like blockchain is also really open to those kind of like things, and that's where all the funds comes out from. So it's amazing. And from the outer like data point, I realized that Mantle is having like 50% of its transaction that is deriving from DeFi. So it is really a DeFi chain. So I really like anticipating more other than like the liquid staking and restaking thing. And like maybe you guys can expand more to RWAs and so. So I'm just curious about those like plans. And also maybe Mantle can be a little bit more like you guys are focusing on DeFi, but also you guys have a lot of like funds, you know. You guys have a lot of treasury, so you guys are well known for that. So I'm curious, like whether you have like plans in the future or the near future, like nurturing some additional apps that is just like other like Web2 apps, for example, like ride-hailing apps or some like social apps that needs a lot of like data to be stored. So could you just like give some more like roadmaps on that one?
For sure. I think beyond DeFi, there is actually a lot of rising traction with other spaces. Like yesterday, I was just talking to Terrence about like GameFi, for example, or just gaming in general, social applications. So we actually, one of the key, in the last quarter at least, one of the key focus was games. We actually had Catizen on Mantle. Catizen being one of the most popular games on Telegram. I think that goes without saying. That's something that everybody knows. And it's one of those spaces that we are also exploring within, thinking about tapping on the benefits of the protocol design for Mantle, right? The fast finality, the cheap transaction costs, and also the treasury, like you said. How can we allow these players to build on our platform, allow their end users to benefit from that almost instant kind of experience, and also be able to tap onto the network and the connections that we have. So again, as an example, right, Citizen being on board, that also allowed us to pull them together with the other protocol partners that we have. Let's say pushing certain partnerships with like Merchant Mo as an example, right? So I think this is really that kind of like in that gaming and social-fi step is where we are driving a lot more towards. There is also slightly related, and I guess before we talk about the more abstract or future use cases of, let's say, like you said, ride-hailing or others that really require a lot of data storage. I think one very obvious one would be like payments as well. Payments. The original idea of blockchain. We see that blockchain has matured a lot in the past years. And Mento's design is really able to afford that kind of experience where really within, let's say, the stablecoin ecosystem, right? How are people able to tap on Mento to transact in a fast and efficient way? We have seen some of the actual use cases within our space where not just on the on-ramp and off-ramp part of things, because that's more centralized, but within the actual transaction side of space, right? That's also something that we are really looking towards as one of the key pillars as the next step. Well, some argue that that's a bit related to DeFi, but I think that actually that's completely different, right? One is really just, the yields part of the conversation, and the other one is really, I think, social application. Social not as in media, but social as in allowing people to actually transact, right? Like I'm sure all of us also know, for example, USDT being one of the strongest stable coins out there, populated mostly or used mostly by many countries, like LATAM, for example. Why? Because infrastructure there is not as strong. So can we continue to supplement those kind of relationship? Then again, tapping onto our relationship with, let's say, Ethena, right? USDE being one of the stablecoin options as well.
Yeah.
Right? Is that a possibility? We also have native USDT. So many of these things that are beyond DeFi that we are looking into today.
Got it. Thank you very much. So like socials and like payments and like everything else is going to be ready in Mantle. So I'm looking forward to it.
For sure.
So actually, I want to like give a similar question to Terrence as well. So like, what do you think? Like, what are your like target in the near future? And like, could you also tell me like what you think is the roadblock of achieving it? So you told about like pre-confirmation. Of course, like it is a problem, and I guess like you also have an upcoming tech stack called like booster rollup, and then like contestable rollup in the near future. It is applied, but still like more will come in. So could you just like give some kind of explanation on that?
Of course. These are very good questions because through the few months of mainnet, that as we grow the community and the ecosystem at the same time, and as we see the usage, DAUs, daily active users, and transactions go off the roof, TVL always is a question that a lot of people pay attention to. Our take on the TVL is that, DeFi, of course, is the very natural source of TVL, but then actually blockchain should enable many other ways of onboarding what we call usable TVL. So not just TVL staying there looking for passive use, but actually, having real use. Like gaming actually brings a lot of TVL in a different form, like NFTs, which will have values. You have a lot of game coins, and then you can buy upgrades, for example. Social apps like prediction market, like you mentioned, Poly Market. Crazy, right? 3 billion within a month. That's not a traditional, DeFi TVL. That's a different thing, right? And then DeFi, of course, is very important. The challenge today, in the Ethereum ecosystem, or arguably across different L1, is TVL fragmentation. If you think of it, actually, in order to use any app that you want to use, if your asset is not on that chain, you have to do bridging over. It costs you a lot of money. It increases a lot of risk because almost all the hack happens on bridges.
Yeah.
today, right? And also, there's the challenge window for different, zk may be a little faster, OP a little bit longer, but there are other solutions that you can accelerate it. So we have, as the 6 months of mainnet and explosion of growth has brought to us, we constantly think about how can we further ensure an even better user experience than Web 2. How can we enable it on Web 3? Because we are strong believer that the Web 3 is the future of internet. So pre-confirmation is one step where, once it's launched in the next 6 months, it's already on our testnet now. We think we're targeting to bring it mainnet within, the next 3 to 6 months, is it will address the 12 seconds block time issue that with pre-confirmation, actually it will be sub 1 second. We can achieve like 100 millisecond, 200 millisecond. That's one user experience obstacle that we'll overcome very soon. It will also have the benefit of further reducing the transaction costs. I think today, despite the high price and high gas of this week, we're still able to achieve 1 to 2 cents per transaction. However, I think if you want people to really use blockchain without even thinking about it, you need to take that down by another fraction of 10, a factor of 10 at least, or a factor of 100. So pre-confirmation actually also allow us to have a more efficient use of the blob space. Talk about DA layer, talk about blob space, that will further reduce our costs without user needing to do anything. And the research project that you mentioned, Gwyneth, we call it booster roll-up, actually, coincidentally, is very much aligned with the Beam chain just being announced this week in
right?
DEF CON. It's very new, but the architecture is very similar. So Beam chain will take a few years, 2028, 29, 30, to go into layer 1. Before that, actually, our Gwyneth, our booster roll-up, actually will do similar work. And because the underlying architecture is very similar, it's also zk-VM, it's also multi-zk proof, it's also, we call it synchronously composable. So what Booster does is a DApp can exist on layer 1 or other layer 2. You only need to have an API call to our Gwyneth chain, the next version of Taiko, and then you don't need to bridge the asset to our chain. The transaction can be settled on Taiko layer 2, but the asset will exchange on either layer 1 or other layer 2. So it makes, it cut through the fragmentation of TVL. So those are, finality, costs, and TVL fragmentation are the biggest roadblocks and challenges that, despite the explosive growth we see in our ecosystem, urgently need to be addressed. So we have roadmap, technology items for all three, and we're happy that, even Ethereum Foundation is taking a step into addressing it in the longer term, and their architectural choice is actually very aligned with what our research project is. So when it happens, for us, it will be a seamless transition, from Gwyneth to, Beam chain.
Yeah, so Beam chain is just a new proposal from Ethereum Foundation. I mean, Justin Drake, that's placed in Bangkok. So it's all about, to my knowledge, shortening the block time and implementing zk Snark and the main chain, Ethereum chain. So it's brand new. So thank you for all those explanations. So I guess we can go more and more and more because there are so many differences as an L2 in terms of selecting their foundational stack. So fair sequencing, and you guys are some different utilizing different thing, and you guys are using EIGNDA. We're gonna use it with AVS, and then you're still gonna stuck into Ethereum. So there are so many things to talk about this architecture, but still we can just defer to you guys so that you can make a separate research. And sure, we're gonna be over here after the session so that you guys can just ask in case you are curious in many things. So these guys are excellent, and they know the importance of community and many things else. So please just ask them after this stage. So for last, I just want to give a chance for you to underscore one thing that you would like to give it to the audience. So please, could you just start first?
Yeah, one thing. I think the topic is understanding rollups and future ahead, right? The whole point is about, I think, going back to Ethereum, thinking about how we may do things differently. Maybe one day our nodes will be supporting his brief confirmation.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? You don't know, right? There may be differences in the short term, but I think the whole point is finding that concentrated or non-fragmented liquidity. I think that's the most important thing. And that is the experience that we all should strive towards. And always think about the end user use case. That's where I would leave it at.
Great, thank you. How about you, Terrence?
I totally agree with what you said. I think the beauty of blockchain is very modular. Modular blockchain is real. For example, we work with SP1 and RISC-0 for zk-VM. We work with many partners, and sometimes we even work with so-called competitive, because we are all in Ethereum ecosystem. All we are trying to do, I think, is to make Ethereum, a stronger and also, the de facto operating system for all blockchains in the future. So while we all try to compete, but at the same time, I think we all push the technology forward. Taiko also are fully open source from day one. From the same first line of code to now, we even launched Taiko Stack very recently at DEFCON. We welcome any project to. The goal to launch a Taiko Stack is interoperability. Yeah. So I think today we might be sitting on a different seat, but tomorrow we might be working together very closely. So that's what I want to
Great friendship. Okay.
Modularity.
Thank you very much, guys. So this is all we prepared. So thank you very much. And it's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.